The most ridiculous legislation has just been passed, with Hamza Useless leading the charge. Holyrood's new hate crime legislation, which kicked in on Monday, and saw Hamza himself being a victim of his own success. For after he managed to get the legislation passed, he became the most reported person on it for his rant about diversity 4 years ago.
That 99% of the meetings I go to, I'm the only non-white person in the room. But why are we so surprised when the most senior positions in Scotland are filled almost exclusively by those who are white? Take my portfolio alone. The Lord President, white. The Lord Justice Clerk, white. Every High Court judge, white. The Lord Advocate, white. The Solicitor General, white. The Chief Constable, white. Every Deputy Chief Constable, white. Every Assistant Chief Constable, white. The Head of the Law Society, white. The Head of the Faculty of Advocates, white. Every prison governor, white. That is not good enough.
What do you expect in a 95% white country? Alongside him was J.K. Rowling for correctly describing trans women as men, which they are. There's no getting around it. She also criticised the government. Both Hamza and J.K. were reported to the police in Scotland over claims that they had committed so-called hate crimes. Officers were inundated with allegations against them. Is this really the best use of our police time? The new legislation basically gives the police the final say on whether to proceed and record their words as non-crime hate incidents. And luckily for Hamza, they decided against it. What a waste of police time and money. They also decided not to proceed with J.K. Rowling, who rightly pointed out that the legislation is wide open to abuse by activists who wish to silence those of us speaking out about the dangers of eliminating women's and girls' single-sex spaces. She argued it is impossible to accurately describe or tackle the reality of violence and sexual violence committed against women and girls, or address the current assault on women's and girls' rights, unless we're allowed to call a man a man. She said, "I hope every woman in Scotland who wishes to speak up for the reality and importance of biological sex will be reassured by this announcement. And I trust that all women, irrespective of profile or financial means, will be treated equally under the law." Hear, hear. Thank God she said something. Could you imagine if it was one of us? I don't know about you, but I want our police to deal with actual crime like burglaries and violent attacks, not hurty feelings. But it gets worse. This weekend, there is concern that police will be deluged by a torrent of hate crime complaints as Celtic play Rangers on Sunday, with fans from both sides making vexatious and spurious claims against each other. How can they decipher what's what? Surely that's the job of a court of law. What a mess! But it's actually united both the right and the left.
Under this law, you can go to prison for something you said privately in your own home. Someone else can hear what you said second-hand, then take offence at what they've heard you've said privately, and then report you to the police for something you said to someone else in private. And reporting it to the police is being openly encouraged by the government. And we're being told that these new laws are supposed to promote tolerance. And even if they decide that a crime hasn't taken place, it could still be recorded as a non-hate crime incident, which will go on your record and be available to potential employers without your knowledge.
Well, that's lefty Jonathan Pye. That's what he thinks. I'm afraid this legislation is already proving to be going down like a cup of sick, just like Hamza's great mentor Nicola Sturgeon's gender recognition reform bill. Remember that? Which arguably was the catalyst for cutting short her tenure. That, alongside an unaccounted £600,000. She's taught him well. It looks like Hamza is going in the same direction.